Level 1. $0. Not zero like you spent it. Zero like there was never enough to spend. The number on your screen isn't a balance. It's a verdict. You learn to read rooms differently at 0. You walk into a store and you know within 30 seconds whether someone is going to follow you. Not because anything happened, because nothing happened yet and you already feel it coming. The slight turn of a head. The employee who suddenly needs to straighten something on the shelf nearest to you. You didn't do anything. You walked in wearing the wrong number. Your friends invite you out. You say you're tired. You've been tired 11 Fridays in a row. They stop asking eventually. Not because they're cruel, because they got the message. And the message was never about being tired. You sit across from someone on a first date. The restaurant wasn't your idea. You study the right side of the menu first, not the descriptions, the prices. You do the math before you order. You smile while doing the math. You've gotten good at smiling while doing the math. Your family asks how things are going? You say fine. Fine is the word you use when the truth would change how they look at you and you're not ready for that yet. Because once they look at you differently, you can't make them stop. The landlord calls about the rent 3 days late. His voice has a texture to it you recognize. Not angry? Careful? The way you talk to something you're not sure about. At 0, people don't treat you badly. That would require them to notice you enough to make a decision. You become a background character in every room you walk into. Present, unimportant. The kind of person other people's eyes slide past on their way to something more interesting. The world isn't cruel to you at 0. It's just not paying attention. Level 2. $1,000. You have something now? Not enough, but something. And something changes the way you carry yourself in ways you don't fully notice yet. You go to the doctor without doing the mental math mid-appointment. Just once, just for a regular checkup. You sit in the waiting room and you don't run numbers. That's new. It lasts about 20 minutes before the copay anxiety kicks in. But those 20 minutes felt like someone else's life. Your coworker asks if you want to grab lunch. You say yes. You say yes without calculating first. You sit across from her and you eat a $12 sandwich and you talk about something that has nothing to do with money. And for 45 minutes you feel like a person who doesn't think about money constantly. You do think about it constantly. But for 45 minutes you performed not thinking about it well enough that it almost felt real. The date goes differently now. You suggest the place. You've thought about it. You know the prices. You know you can cover it without the math showing on your face. She doesn't know any of this. She thinks you picked it because you like the food. You let her think that. Your family notices something. They can't name it. They say you seem good. You say thanks. What they're seeing is the absence of the thing that was there before. The low hum of barely holding on. It's quieter now. Not gone. Quieter. $1,000 doesn't make people treat you well. It makes them stop treating you like a problem. The difference is smaller than it sounds and larger than you'd expect. Level 3. $10,000. Something shifts in the way you move through the world. Not dramatically, quietly. The way a room feels different when you stop being afraid of it. You negotiate your rent. Not aggressively, you just ask. And the fact that you ask instead of accepting the number you were given, that alone is new. 2 years ago, you took whatever number they said because saying something felt dangerous. Now you ask. He comes down $50. $50 a month is $600 a year. You know that now. You didn't used to think in those units. Your friends treat you the same. Mostly, except one of them asks to borrow $300. He says 2 weeks. You know it won't be 2 weeks. You lend it anyway, because you can absorb $300 now, and a year ago you couldn't, and the feeling of being able to absorb something is still new enough that you want to use it. He pays you back in 6 weeks. You don't bring up the timeline. The friendship survives. But something small and permanent happened to it that neither of you will ever mention. The date notices. You're not sure what she notices exactly. Something about the way you order without looking at prices. The way you suggest the wine without checking what it costs first. She says you seem confident. You don't tell her what confidence actually costs or how recently you learned to afford it. At $10,000, people start returning your calls faster. Not dramatically, just slightly. Enough to notice if you're paying attention. And you're always paying attention now. Level 4. $50,000. You walk into the car dealership. Same one you left 2 years ago when the salesman looked through you like you were weather. Different day, same building, same glass doors. Before you're across the parking lot, A man is moving toward you. Hand already out. Warm. Immediate. You remember the last time you were here? You were invisible then. You're not invisible now. Nothing about you changed except the car you arrived in, and somehow that's enough to make you a person worth crossing a room for. You buy the car. You drive home in it, and you feel something complicated that takes a few days to name. It isn't happiness exactly. It's the strange discomfort of realizing that the warmth in that showroom was never about you. It was about what you were holding. And now you're holding more, and the world is warming up accordingly, and you're not sure how you feel about that. Your family treats you differently at $50,000. Your opinion carries more weight in conversations. Not because your opinions got better. They didn't. But money makes people listen differently. Your uncle asks what you think about something at dinner. A year ago, he didn't ask. You say the same things you always said. He nods more now. You notice. You don't say anything about it. A colleague asks you to lunch, the kind of lunch that has an agenda underneath it. He wants something. You're not sure what yet, but the lunch is real, and the food is good, and you sit there knowing that the version of you that made $12 an hour never got invited to this lunch, and the version of you sitting here now didn't get smarter, just better funded. Level 5, $100,000. 6 figures, the number everyone talks about like it's a finish line. You cross it and wait for the feeling. It doesn't come the way you expected. What comes instead is people. Suddenly, there are more of them. Family members who weren't sure about your choices are now curious about your process. Friends who drifted come back with energy you don't fully trust. A cousin pitches you something over the holidays. An old colleague emails out of nowhere asking to reconnect. You reconnect. You listen to the pitch. You say you'll think about it. You don't think about it. The romantic relationship changes at $100,000. Not because the love changes, because the power changes. And power in a relationship is a quiet thing until it isn't. You start noticing who reaches for the check, who makes the plans, who follows whose lead on decisions that used to be made together. The math shifted underneath you without either of you choosing it. And some couples navigate that, and some don't. And the ones who don't rarely name money as the reason even when it was. Your friends treat you like a resource now, not all of them, but enough that you start paying attention to who calls when nothing is wrong. The list is shorter than you'd like it to be. You protect that list. At $100,000, the world doesn't treat you like a success. It treats you like an opportunity, and learning to tell the difference between the two is the most expensive education you'll ever get. Level 6. $250,000. The circle gets smaller, not because you pushed anyone out, because the altitude does it for you. You go to dinner with old friends. The restaurant is your suggestion. Everyone orders without looking at the prices, and you realize halfway through the meal that you're the only one at the table who can actually afford not to look. Nobody says anything. The check comes. Someone suggests splitting it evenly. The number is fine for you. You watch one friend do the math on his phone under the table. You've been that person. You say nothing. You stop being invited to certain things. Not excluded exactly, just not thought of. The group chat for the camping trip doesn't include you anymore. You find out later. Nobody meant anything by it. They just assumed you'd want something different now. They weren't wrong, but being assumed out of something still has a texture to it.
Your family starts asking for things differently. Not money directly, advice that leads to money. What do you think about this investment? Can you look at this contract? Do you know anyone who could help with this? You become the person they call before they call anyone else. You don't mind, mostly, except when you realize the calls only started after the number changed. At $250,000, you're wealthy enough to feel the distance and not wealthy enough to stop feeling it. You exist in the expensive middle, too far from where you started to go back, not far enough from it to stop looking over your shoulder.
Level 7. $1 million. You don't tell anyone. Not your parents, not your closest friend, not the person you share a bed with. Not at first. Not the exact number. Because you've watched what numbers do to people's eyes, and you're not ready to see it in theirs. The ones who find out change. Not all of them. But the change in the ones who do is permanent and specific. There's a new carefulness in how they talk to you. A slight hesitation before asking for anything. Or the opposite, a new boldness. A sense that the old social rules don't apply because the financial ones don't anymore. Either way, something that used to be easy becomes slightly formal. And you mourn that quietly in a way that surprises you. Your romantic partner knows. Of course they know. And what you discover is that $1 million in a relationship is either the thing that frees you both, or the thing that finally shows you what was already broken. There is almost no in-between. The couples who were solid become more solid. The ones who were held together by necessity discover the necessity is gone. You find out which one you are. New people enter your life. They're interesting. Accomplished. They talk about things you care about in ways you understand. But there's a part of you that watches these new relationships with a low, quiet suspicion you never had before. You find yourself wondering what they'd think of you if the number was different, and the fact that you can't know is the loneliest part of having it. At $1 million, you stop worrying about money. You start worrying about everything money can't fix. The list is longer than you expected. Level 8. $10 million. The room is very small now. Not physically. The rooms are larger than they've ever been. But the number of people in them who actually know you, know the version of you that existed before all of this. That number fits in a single sentence. People treat you with a deference that took some getting used to. They listen when you speak in a way that has nothing to do with what you're saying. They remember your preferences. They accommodate before you ask. They make you feel important in a way that would feel good if you couldn't see the machinery behind it. Your oldest friends, the ones still in your life, treat you like you're fragile now. They choose their words. They don't complain about money in front of you the way they used to. Not because things got easier for them, because they don't know what to do with the distance. They're not wrong to feel it. The distance is real. You just wish someone would let it be real out loud instead of pretending it isn't there. Your family treats you like a fact now, something permanent and slightly abstract, a resource that exists and will continue to exist. The grandchildren you see at holidays will grow up and not really know you. They'll know the idea of you, the story of you, but not the person who stood at a bus stop and practiced looking like he wasn't counting the minutes until payday. At $10 million, people don't treat you like a person. They treat you like a position, something to be managed, respected, maintained, occasionally leveraged. And here is the thing nobody tells you. The thing you couldn't have understood at zero. The thing that wouldn't have helped you even if someone had said it out loud. The way people treat you at zero and the way people treat you at 10 million have something in common. At zero, you were invisible because you had nothing. At 10 million, you're invisible because you have everything. The person in the middle, the one people actually saw, existed somewhere between those two numbers. And you passed through him so fast you barely had time to notice. Somewhere right now, someone is checking their balance at 11 p.m. The number hasn't moved. It won't move until Friday. They're not thinking about $10 million. They're thinking about getting to zero. They don't know yet that every level above zero comes with its own version of the same quiet loneliness. Just better lighting. The bank account changed at every level. You were the same person the whole time. The world just kept deciding who that person was based on a number. And the hardest part isn't the levels where the number was small. The hardest part is realizing the levels where it was large didn't fix what you thought they would. They never do.